Kanigitbihi and welcome to Suaangan. I'm your host, Dennis Allen. There's a new breed of RCMP officers in the Inuvialuit settlement region. Gone are the special constables whose capacity in law enforcement were limited to special on-the-land skills. Officers today can be found commanding entire detachments or patrolling the streets of our communities, enforcing the law with full judicial powers. Today, we bring you the story of two such individuals, Corporal Dino Norris and Constable Noella Cockney. Welcome to Suaangan, Our Strength, right here on APTN.
Garter Mount 4. Yeah, I'm 10-8-62, just here for lunch.
As you very well know, I mean, lots of the kids live with grandparents and family and friends and stuff. And after my father had passed away, I had an opportunity to live with Frank and Florence Carpenter, and at that time I learned a lot from Frank in regards to the traditional ways that Frank grew up, some of the things that he was dealing with the RCMP, how he got in, the things he did for the RCMP. And one day he sat down with me and he said, you know, that the RCMP are looking for Aboriginal Native Special Constables to join the organization. And he said, you know, I see something in you that, you know, I think that you would do well at that. And those words, you know, coming from an elder and also from an RCMP member at the time, you know, it really struck me, you know, and I gave it some very serious thought. And you know, he said, you know, why don't you put your application in, and you know, we'll go from there and see what happens.
After 15 years in the force, Dino has earned his corporal stripes.
Yeah, right now I'm acting detachment commander because our staff sergeant is away on duty in Yellowknife. Currently we have about 17 staff on Inuvik detachment here. And of those, there's a staff sergeant in charge of the detachment and two corporals, supervisors, which one, I'm one of them. And as a result, the other corporal's away on holiday, so I'm kind of doing a few jobs here today, but it's all part and parcel of being a member of the RCMP in Inuvik.
It was the encouragement he received from retired RCMP Special Constable Frank Carpenter that led Dino to a lifelong career in law enforcement.
I took Frank's words and his encouragement, and I said, okay, you know, maybe I can do this. I never ever thought I'd ever join the RCMP at the time. You know, it was a different career path. It was something I had no interest in at the time. But, you know, seeing the things that Frank had done and his accomplishments, as well as his son, Merle, who's also an RCMP member, and it struck me that, you know what, this is a good opportunity for me to give back to my community on a different level.
Dino wrote the exam and after 8 anxious months found himself at the RCMP training depot in Regina, Saskatchewan.
Months later, I was down in Regina at the Swinging Arm Ranch and joined the RCMP. I was doing push-ups. I was, you know, learning how to iron my bed and all kinds of stuff that I'd never done before, and it was very challenging. It was one of the first times I'd ever been out of the north, and it was very challenging for someone like myself to come from the north and go into a city. And but at the same time, I wouldn't trade it for the world, because I think I learned a lot about myself and you know, what my capabilities are and the things that I can do as an individual and give back to a community that needs help.
It was in Regina that Dino learned the most important lessons of being a peace officer: compassion and understanding.
Well, I think it's important for everybody to understand that everybody deals with situations differently on their own merit. For me personally, whenever I'm dealing with a tough situation or anything like that that's affecting me personally, you know, I look at it from a perspective that, okay, I've got a job to do, I've chosen this career, and a simple thing could be, you know, dealing with somebody that's got a major problem. You know, I look at it, okay, they're suffering from that problem right now. They're counting on me to assist them, to help them to get through it. And that I have to maintain my composure and my professionalism, because that's what we're being paid to do. And they're counting on us to help them get through their issues or concerns. At the end of the day, when I go home, you know, I reflect on everything that's happened during the day, and you know, if I try to remember one positive thing that happened that you know, made it all worthwhile, that gets me through. You know, because it could be a simple thing as helping a young child that's lost. You know, and you go out and you find them, and you know, that little smile that they get because they see a police officer, or they see an Inuvialuit police officer, they're happy. You know, and they know that they're going to get help or get them home and get them safe to where they need to be. So, you know, those little things. I mean, everybody handles it differently, and you know, for me, that's how I do it. If I can put a smile on somebody's face, you know, once during the day, then that's what I'll do, and I'll reflect on that. And some of the other stuff, you know, you have to put it aside and say, well, you know, although it affected me in a negative way, there's somebody else that's affecting a far worse, and you have to try to help them get through it. So,
after being posted throughout the North, Dino was offered a chance to be a part of the famed musical ride, the first Inuvialuit to do so.
Did 5.5 years in Yellowknife. From there, I was posted to the RCMP musical ride. I learned to ride a horse. I'd never ridden a horse before. Where else can they pay you to learn to ride a horse? You know, it was phenomenal. A boy from the North going down south to ride a horse and do shows. You know, it was amazing. I enjoyed that so much. This might be a little bit of a funny, but you know, I quickly learned that horses aren't part of the food group. You know, the reality is they are part of the heritage of the organization since 1874, and that's how the mode of transportation was back then in the late 1800s. Was members got around by horseback. You know, in the South and in Northern Canada, they got around by dog teams.
Dino is a firm believer that learning how to communicate is a police officer's best weapon.
Well, I think it's critical for every member of the RCMP to understand that yes, we've got all these tools to help us do our job, but the reality is when you're dealing with a problem or somebody that's got a problem and you're trying to work with them, you don't go in there. The wild west days are gone. You know, you go in there to help them. You communicate with them. You know, you help them adapt to whatever situation may be. And their strongest muscle in your body, and I'm a firm believer of this, is your tongue. You know, because you can talk your way out of anything if you just communicate. You know, and when somebody's got a problem, sometimes they're looking for that out. So you help them get to that out, rather than having to be confrontational or use physical force to deal with the situation, because that doesn't work. You know, it's communicating with people, giving them the tools that they need to deal with their situation.
Suaangan, Our Strength will be right back with more of Keeping Us Safe right here on APTN. Welcome back to Suaangan, Our Strength, and more of Keeping Us Safe right here on APTN. We've come a long way in battling alcohol and drug addiction, but they still pose the biggest threat to public safety.
Inuvik's not any different than any other community throughout the North or Canada. The crime here predominantly relates or revolves around alcohol and drugs. Predominantly right now it's alcohol. Alcohol-related offenses, and there's a lot of people in our community here from the Inuvialuit background and Gutchin and others that you know do alcohol and drink and that, and it does cause problems at times. I mean, It's an ongoing problem that almost every detachment in Canada is going through, and it's we try to work with our partners out there to try and resolve some of the issues and concerns surrounding it, and it's something that we realize that we can't do alone. We need to work with the partners in the community. We need the community to also embrace the concerns and work with us to help try and resolve some of the issues and concerns revolving around alcohol and drugs. So it's an ongoing thing, but I'm a firm believer that that's why there's erasers on pencils, so you can help people correct some of their mistakes that they make. So and work towards a more healthier and safer community for all.
Dino gave us a tour of the Inuvik detachment.
Currently we are in the Inuvik detachment cell block booking area. We have a guard here that's here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, regardless if there's prisoners or not. They're on call, or they come in immediately as soon as there's a prisoner that's being lodged into the detachment cells here, or held for one reason or another. We have 4 male cell tanks or cells in the back with 4 beds in each cell. We also have a young offenders cell area. We have a female cell area, and we also have a female drunk tank, also a male drunk tank as well, where intoxicated people are held. Obviously, when they're intoxicated and they can't care for themselves, the detachment or the members pick them up, and we keep them until they're sober or enough to take care of themselves, and we release them. So, and this here is Frank. He's been working with the Inuvik detachment for a number of years, and it's his dedication to assisting the RCMP with guarding prisoners. He monitors them constantly to ensure that they're okay, and anytime that they have any questions or concerns, he immediately informs the detachment members, and we deal with it. In this area here, we have the identification room. When a person has been charged with an offense, they're brought in here, we photograph them, and we also sit them here for fingerprints, and we take their fingerprints. Obviously, they're being charged with offense. Once the person has actually been charged, they're fingerprinted, photographed, those are sent off for Ottawa for identification purposes to ensure we have the right individual. Obviously, every person that's detained or arrested, they have the right to counsel, so we do provide them with a room where they can have some privacy and speak with a lawyer, and in the event that they have a visitor that comes in as well, there's another room just adjacent to this, as you can see here, where they can speak with them in private. This is our soft interview room. This is where we'll interview children that may have been a victim of a crime. It's a little more convenient. It's a little bit more relaxing room. There's a couch, there's chairs, and we'll use this room for just doing interviews of usually victims of crime. And in here we have the bullpen. Basically what we call it, it's where the members come in and they can sit down at a desk here and do their file investigations, make phone calls, do up court packages or anything else like that. At any given time there's usually 2 members working, and they're in here working diligently or out on the street. We encourage members to go out on the road to be seen by the public, interact with the public, but obviously there is paperwork that needs to be done, and it's completed in this area here. Obviously, as a police officer, everybody's given a uniform and their kit and clothing to help them do their job. As you can see here, I've got a bulletproof vest on. This is obviously for safety reasons. All these tools that are on my belt here are for a number of things. I mean, obviously I have my revolver. I've got some extra bullets here. I've got my handcuffs. I've also got your little mic thing here to help us communicate a little better. But I also got my AS baton. This here is basically basically a baton to help somebody that's, in the event I'm dealing with somebody that has a knife or anything else like that. You know, obviously this will help get the knife out of their care and control. But it's just another tool. We also have some pepper spray here as well. Pepper spray is used in the event that we're dealing with somebody that is very violent. It'll help subdue them and calm them down and able to control the situation. So these are just some of the tools that we use. Obviously this is a regular working uniform that every member uses. There is a number of different uniforms depending on the situation as well. So these are just some of the tools that we use to do our day-to-day operations as a RCMP member.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. This here is a basic bag that every member carries with them whenever they start their work. You have yourself a flashlight. It allows you to carry your ticket book. We also have the criminal code in here as well. A number of different tools in here that'll, depending on the situation, to help the member do their jobs. Carry a little bit of food around. We've also got a little thing here that we call the hood. Nowadays, as a result of people that have infectious diseases, and sometimes they spit on members, so we have a little hood here that we can put over the individual's head in case to prevent them from spitting on members and members getting infected as well. I mean, these are just little things that we carry around with us to ensure officer safety. We have exhibit bags, more restraining devices, anything that we need to do our day-to-day operations out in the field. Obviously, we can't take everything with us. We are in the computer age now. A lot of our stuff is on computers, and the members are required to come back to the office and do a lot of their computer work, court packages and everything else in the office here. I do know that in the future that there will be a time that every detachment vehicle will have a computer in the vehicle where they can do a lot of their computer court packages and everything else in the field, allowing them to be more out in the general public's eye and out in visibility instead of being in the office here.
Suaangan, Our Strength will be right back with more of Keeping Us Safe right here on APTN. Welcome back to Suaangan, Our Strength, and more of Keeping Us Safe right here on APTN.
My dad was a special constable over in Herschel Island. And my oldest brother as well, Bobby Cockney, he wanted to join, but unfortunately for medical reasons he couldn't. But again, I heard all the stories and everything, and I thought it'd be a good idea.
Constable Noella Cockney, a 10-year veteran, is passionate about her role as a peacekeeper in the still evolving North.
Okay, I didn't have a whole lot of experience when I went south. I went to Teachers College in Nova Scotia in Truro. That was the only experience I had for south, and then I only went for a year and a half. But and then I had my son. And when he was 6 or so, that's when I found out I was going down to depot. During training, it is really difficult. I was far from home, and there's no one else really from the NWT in depot at that point in time. But I had a lot of encouragement with the troop mates and everything, so I was able to get through. I almost quit a few times because I missed home, but my parents, I called them and everything, and they said that, you know, you went this far, you know, you got to go through it all the way.
Noella's first posting was in her hometown of Tuktoyaktuk, NWT.
When I left Tuk, I knew I was actually going back to Tuk, which was really nice, because a lot of the people that are down there, they have no idea where they're going. I was fortunate enough to actually know that I was going back home, which is really nice. And to actually graduate and finish, it was a really, really great feeling, actually.
Being posted in her hometown proved difficult as well. Noella had to stand her ground and not let her friends and family use her.
It was a bit difficult in a way, and it was also easy, you know, because I already knew the place, I knew all the people and everything. That was easy that way. But you know, dealing with relatives and everything is, they kind of thought that they'd get away with a little bit more than with me than anything. But I have a feeling I was a little bit more strict than actually let them get away with anything. So it was kind of tough.
Noella is committed to the North. She has no plans of moving. The RCMP know the value of maintaining peace with homegrown police officers.
I want to stay up here as long as I can. I was born and raised here in Inuvik. I moved to Chuck when I was 11 years old with my parents, and I've been there forever and a day almost. And then when my son turned 11 years old, I moved here to Inuvik, and we've been here ever since. So it's been great. My son's going to be graduating next year, and hopefully, well, he says he's going to be an RCMP member one of these days. So so hopefully he'll be able to come back up here as well. It'd be nice.
There's handouts here for you guys to read through if you like. Kind of explains a bit about what happened.
Noella often represents the RCMP at community functions. She uses these events to get the message out that she is committed to her job and her role in the community.
This did happen at a college in Montreal as well, where a student who was not admitted came into the college and opened fire on a bunch of women.
I'd just like to say just a few words here. Almost all women have suffered some sort of abuse. May it be physical, sexual, psychological, financial, or spiritual. Women have to start coming forward and reporting their abuses. If they do not want to report their abuse to the police, there are other organizations they can turn to. Examples are the Women's Shelter or the Family Counseling, and both organizations do a great job. With the new Protection Against Family Violence Act in place, the women and children who used to have to leave the house they live in will no longer have to. They can get an emergency protection order, which makes the individual who is causing the problem leave the home.
Noella has dreams and aspirations within the RCMP to further her career and achieve some personal goals.
I would like to work with the communities a little bit more, especially up here. It'd be nice, but unfortunately they don't have a position here. Therefore, I kind of have to make my own time in order to try and there's a project I kind of want to deal with is family violence, and try and make people aware that they can get help and they can you know, maybe, like I said, seek help in sort of different areas. I'd also like to be a corporal one of these days. It'd be nice. I passed the test and everything. It's just that I just need to find a place to go, I guess. And I really don't want to leave Inuvik, so just have to wait till the position opens.
Well, that was our show for this week. We hope you enjoyed it. Tune in again next week for more of Suaangan, Our Strength, right here on APTN. Until then, I'm your host, Dennis Allen. Kuyanakpak. For copies of this program or any other program of Suaangan, contact the Inuvialuit Communication Society at Post Office Box 1704, Inuvik NT X0E0T0, or call 867-777-2320. Fax your requests to 867-777-2744 or email us at suangan@northwesthell.net.
Peer pressure, avoiding getting themselves into problems down the road. You know, it's very difficult time. It can be very difficult for young people today to say no to alcohol and drugs when there's peer pressure. But you know, we have to encourage them, embrace them, and say, listen, leaders today are people that make decisions on their own.